Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you some more changes that I did for the random symbols operator. And a few changes with the names of the parameter compared to the last videos. And the scale is no longer here because of some other changes in the other sections. Like the solver, we have a new parameter uh, which is the mode. You can have per face or per face groups. So the inset, we have group margin, panel margin, inset max and min, and we have the seed. This is the scale. From before, I have renamed it to inset. Now it's an inset process, not a scale process, to incorporate the changes in the new parameter, which is the mode. Okay. And we also have the clear faces here, which will draw, when using inner, will draw strokes on the borders of the fonts. So selecting these spaces here. So in the old version, this will represent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 symbols per each face. And that will be the, if we use the preset maze cut 3. So each letter, each face is a symbol. You can inset. So this is the scale from before. So this you can use this to it's called inset, but the effect is essentially scaling from before. Okay, so this is individual faces. In the mode, this we have the per face and per face groups. So per face means that the algorithm will work on the individual faces in the selection. Per face groups means that the algorithm will now work on each of the face islands or face groups, and which in this case we have two face islands here, and this will now represent the individual symbol or font or letter instead of the individual faces for that selection. So per face, and this is per face group. So you can do something like this. Let's just create some margin. So you have this single face symbol and this face group that has two faces and this face group that has three faces. Face cuts. And the subdivision parameter will now work differently. And this is the clear faces inner, panel margin, group margin, inset. So the panel margin is essentially the margin between the islands when you're using outer. Each of these islands here, face islands in the character itself, and the group margin is the the border margin of the selection. And we have the individual scaling for each of the characters, which is the inset min and the inset max. So the border margin is, of course, the margin of this entire selection here, or the group margin, I mean, not the border margin. This is the group margin. The panel margin, as I said, is the margin of each of this, or the panel margin. Yeah, each of these lines here are drawn strokes. Okay, so you can then do effects like the something like this can now be a single face group. You can, of course, I think we use too much resolution. Set this back to 0. And you can use this to, of course, create something like this. So you're no longer bound to just a single face. And from the earlier video, I tried to demonstrate it on the cylinder, but of course failed because back then it doesn't work on face groups. It only works on individual faces. So right now, let's try that again. Create a decal using this pattern here. Actually, let's give this a material and make it darker. Set the roughness to 1, specular to 0, something like that. Random symbols. So from before, it's let's try the MySketch 3. Okay. So from before, I couldn't really properly demo it, like to create like a single decal from the or symbol from the selected faces because it's processing the individual faces in the face selection. So right now we have the per face groups to actually create a pattern out of the or all of the face selection as a group. Try minimum of 5, maximum of 20. And the final margin to make the lines thinner. The softness, so you can make it really angular using 0 softness, and you can make it softer using or the curves or the corners to curve or be smoothed out by repeating the smoothing right here in the subdivision section. There's no, oh, there's clipping. Let's try and clip this. It's kind of awkward with the cylinder. Okay, let's try MazeCut 5 and use face groups. And we have this. And let's try lower subdivision. Then play around with panel amount. Try with the invert panel amount. Toggled on. And you can experiment with a whole bunch of patterns with this one. So group margin, not too much. Panel margin, set. Okay. So you can change the color right here of the material. So this one is changing too because without the new material toggle, we are trying to use the original R symbols operator material. Okay, so a whole bunch of patterns that you can use. So after this, you can just, there are many applications for this. Of course, you can turn it into a texture and um, So let's say you can turn it into a texture, of course, by rendering this into a 1024 by 1024 render dimension, or double that, or you can use it as boolean by giving it a solidify, or solidify thickness, I mean, not solidify. Or in the case of 3ds Max, I think it's called shell. Not so sure. Okay, and then if you want to shrink wrap it, you need more topology. For a more accurate shrink wrap, you need more topology. You can just, of course, subdivide, simple. And this is the real, if you turn off the optimal display in the subdivision modifier, you see the real wireframe. And if you need to increase the resolution, just uh, increase the levels viewport and also the render subdivision as well. And then after this, you can put your shrink wrap, and the shrink wrap modifier will take advantage of all the additional points or vertices that you have to make a more accurate shrink wrap result. Okay, so texture, and then boolean, then you have the shrink wrap. Okay, so this is our pattern. We can make it softer by adding subdivision. Okay, so we have added subdivision, but we can make it softer using Catmull and Clark. Then the Catmull and Clark subdivision algorithm. Let's reduce something like 1. There we go. Now you have your, you can put this into your model as a decal, or as a random symbol. Okay, this is parented. Let's unparent it, and try the other preset. We have the Maze-Cut 3 repeat 4, meaning that the symbol will repeat, and Maze-Cut 5 and Maze-Cut 5 repeat 4, meaning that the symbol will also repeat 4 times. Or there, not 4 times. Repeat seed is 4, meaning that there is a possibility that 4 symbols can repeat all throughout the um, processed phases. And then we have walk longest less try poke, meaning that it's using the walk solver and longest path, and it's using triangulation of 4 and poke of 2. Straight face groups. Okay, and you can play around with the min max of the panel size. You can also incorporate notches, user size, just to create more variation in the pattern. Play around with the panel margin, and we have the smoothing right here. Probably not too much. So this is what it looks like without the smoothing. And let's hit seed. So we have triangulation of both. Okay. So this is inner, outer. Okay. I think this looks good. I think this preset is looks good for this kind of topology. Okay, let's just unparent this so we can view it without the. Actually, let's just hide the cylinder. Okay, so this is what it looks like. And we can add subdivision to soften it up and just use something like level 1. There we go. So with the addition of the per face group mode, we are now able to create a unique pattern for the face island or face group instead of just the individual faces. Going to limit the of this and then subdivide again. So you can do something like this. Select. So if you do something like this, these are considered a single face island because they are connected. So they need to be separate from each other uh, with a single face or faces. We considered as a face group or as a separate face group. Let's try miscat 5. Increase this for face groups. This really cool pattern here. Play around with the triangulation. You can and also try out the other solvers. Let's reduce the poke and triangulation to 0. So you will have something like this. That's cool. Collection of symbols. So you can repeat it. You can use the repeat action using this. So depends on the how many face groups that you have. So if you only have like 1 or 2 or 3 face groups, then this probably won't work so much because it needs to have a lot of face group or faces to actually work for the repeating pattern to actually show up. But it can still show up probably, and it all depends on the structure of the faces and also their number. Just increase the panel size to get rid of the small dots. So you can experiment with a lot of patterns with this one. And once you've settled in with something that you like, you can create your own preset with this. Just click on plus and then write your own preset, like my personal preset, but 101 or preset 01 or something. Okay. So these presets can be removed using the minus sign. When you click on it, it activates and you press the minus sign, it can be deleted. It's not like other softwares, like the default presets cannot be deleted. This is something else. So make sure that you have a backup of the preset zip file that comes with the add-on, so you don't lose the default um, presets. Okay, so I'm going to try and show you something else, and that is the some weird application. Basecamp 3. And we're going to use face groups and increase the panel size, panel max size, and this will actually like give you like a actual maze, but it's not really a maze that will have a start and end, but something like a maze. And we can try and soften or reduce the smoothing to get this, and then there you go. Play around with the panel margin. So you can just get rid of the dots yourself. You can, however, get rid of it using, I think, panel amount, but it will try to get rid of the small ones first, but it's not really 100% accurate. So the only way to do that is to, of course, delete it yourself after the operation. But turn it into a maze, you can select everything and extrude up. There we go. And then shade all the smooth. And there you go. You have a maze. Okay, let's try this. So I enter here. So it's just gonna be random. Let's try and get to the exit. What's an exit? Yay! So you can try and you can just try and manually edit the result. Once you get like start and exit, then you can close some this open sides yourself and just be left with your with the start and then start with the start and end that you like. So just some weird application that you can use. Of course, there's other stuff. Okay, LP, clear parent. Let's try something else. Okay, surrendered. We have the maze. Let's try other others the other solvers. And panel margin. So introducing softness. You can introduce softness, of course, if you want the uh, topology or geometry to be like rounded. So let's just say that this is our geometry, for example. Extrude to the z-axis, and then we can try and auto smooth. And then you have this much different structure, but you have your pathways, and then you can probably just layer it with some of the other um, randomization options here. Well, it's probably too much. Okay, this is probably best if we just use the randomization on interval rather than the entire phase. So you can add additional layers on top of this. Shade not smooth, shade smooth, okay, shade smooth, and do not keep sharp edges. Then we can just use pre-select to select our faces. So for example, if you're trying to create like a buildings for some uh, other planet or a village of some other planet, I mean, kind of lost my thought there. So let's just try and get through this. I'm avoiding the thinner faces. Okay, selecting everything. Just shade smooth. Okay, so this is a premise for uh, like a part of, you can actually render this as a it's in a certain distance. You can of course render this as a part of a small town. Okay, let's focus on this one. So the point of this is that you can there are a lot of applications using this the randomizers. You just have to really play around with it if you have the time. But I need you to really adapt the practice of design first before topology. Okay, if you're into cleaner topology, I want you to focus on the design first before actually um, taking your time to fix the topology later on. So it's much faster that way. Instead of designing and then just fixing the topology at the same time, you're gonna get uh, really tired. That's not the word. Like really exhausted because of that process. So design first before topology is a much more enjoyable process in my opinion. Okay, let's use cube projection, then extras shading, open materials, and then we're going to go to materials, assign material, and our full panel soft, hard UV. So trying to render to actually trick our viewer that this is a bunch of buildings in a certain distance. Okay, let's try and use this. So you also need to incorporate the lighting to, of course, really home in your what you're trying to show in your. It's not it. Meant to do random vertex color and island. So again, this just provides some variation in the color of each of the geometry. Attributes, vertex color. Let's control its intensity using the overlay mix factor. Not too much. Okay, and let's try and play around with the scaling of the texture. So this, also the roughness. So this material comes with random flow using the Avid Materials operator. This is a starter, but these are starter shaders for you to play, to just quickly play around with a material or a shader. So you don't have to, if you're a beginner, you can play around with a shader, a pre-made shader. Let's increase the scale to 8, and then you order a sub. Okay. Then we just need the lights, something like 10, and reduce the saturation. To increase the scale, we need to actually lower the inner scale. Okay, something like 300. So just look at the building and their sizes, and you need to just fix the size of the lights. Probably this represents windows or portholes, and you can use the offset to randomize the position. The factor is to increase their number. So factor of 1, this is what it looks like, and this is those tiny squares is the inner scale, and the outer scale is these big boxes, big squares that contains those tiny squares. Okay, so when you mix it up, you get this result. So 0.04. Let's just increase the intensity of the emission. Okay. So there you go. 0.06. There we go. So you can render this, and this can represent a part of your a building at this distance, not a building, community or a village. You can render this as uh, in a more technological setting or less technological, depending on your textures and your lighting, of course. Yeah, just another application for this, besides our maze and then our decals and symbols. So yeah, out from the random symbols, you have a lot of stuff that you can do with it. I think this will be a great addition to random flow. Okay, so that is it for this video. I just want to show you the stuff that you will be expecting in the next update. So it will be ready soon. The operator itself is like right now 100%. It's like 100%. So I've tested, I tested it, and all the previous bugs have been eliminated. So yeah, all I have to do is fix some other problems, and then and also the shader. So I need to the shader. So the underscore UV and underscore object will be joined into one with the UV and objects mapping switch inside the shader node itself. So it's going to be a single material. It just saves space in the download, and also makes the shader cleaner. Okay, so that is it. And again, referral links in the description. If you buy from those, I will get a small amount of the sales without any extra cost to you. And if you have any questions, just the comment section below or the links in the description. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. Thank you for watching, and you have a nice day.